2018 to order. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted.
Yes.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item next is item 4, public appearances, and this is public's opportunity to speak about any subject that's not a specific agenda item. I don't think we had anybody?
No.
Okay.
Just want to recognize that we have a new member here, Melissa Radcliffe.
Yep.
I think most of you had a chance to meet her before the meeting.
Yep.
Welcome.
Now on YouTube. Okay.
I've been there before.
Yeah. Okay. Item 5 is discuss and consider the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting of January 10th, 2018. Any comments, additions, corrections? Hey, Jennifer.
I have one correction
Sure.
on the motion for approving last month's minutes. I got to approve them and seconded it.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I have to go back and look.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Vote early and often.
And I think it was John Russell that seconded.
I think you're right. I didn't have my notes with me.
I will check that out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other
Otherwise-
comments, questions? Okay. If not, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections that Phyllis noted.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and second to approve the minutes. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
One abstention from Melissa. Okay, at this time I'll open a public hearing, and this is to gather input from the public regarding an application for a conditional use permit for an in-vehicle sales and service accessory land use, which is a restaurant drive-through for a Jimmy John's restaurant proposed to be located at 1579 Landmark Drive. We have the architect from the firm here tonight, and I'll let Aaron talk about this. We did discuss this at the Architectural Review Committee, so we'll start with that, I guess.
Yeah, this is Brad Koenig from Sketchworks. I think we can let him kind of walk through the site plan quickly, and then Mike and I can go through our staff reports. So,
Okay, sounds good.
any questions after that?
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Brad Koenig from Sketchworks Architecture, representing Jamie Buggs. He's the franchisee for potential Jimmy John's restaurant to be located just north of town here. Here's the overall map, and kind of a black dot here. Just parcel is just south of the Culver's restaurant. The project is a standalone Jimmy John's. It's approximately 1,480 square feet. And it will, again, like I said, just be a standalone Jimmy John's, no other additional tenants. There we go. The parcel itself, obviously, is being purchased from the village. Because of the size of the building and the nature of the business, it's a fairly narrow lot, and I think that was done in order to preserve lots to the south for further development flexibility there. So, taking a look at the site plan here, we enter off of Landmark Drive, again adjacent to the Culver's entrance, or one of their entrances, and then really the building is located to the west along County Highway N for visibility. Parking, majority of the parking is to the east of the building. Again, in order to push the building closer to N for visibility. And then the driveway just wraps around, again, the front, so the drive-through window will be to the west of the building. The main entrance will be on the east side. Some notable things on the site plan. The elevation of the lot is about 4 to 5 feet different from the Culver's parking lot, so there will be a short retaining wall that will have to be placed to mitigate that elevation. Stormwater management testing was done, and really the only suitable location for the stormwater management was in the northwest corner of the property, where soils were susceptible to proper drainage. So all the roof water, all the site water will be kind of diverted to that corner. As you go to the south, the properties to the south of that step up as well as you kind of go up the hill. So this really will be sitting a little bit above, Culver's in height. The building's 20 feet tall. But then as you go further south on N, that land continues to rise in elevation. The building itself, again, right now we're showing 24 parking stalls. There was some discussion in the ARC meeting on Monday about potentially reducing that number by a couple stalls to allow a little bit more green space, which we're agreed to. And so that will be part of the revised plans as we finalize them. The drive-through also has a bypass lane in case anybody is in line and needs to get out, and for better maneuverability around the parcel and around the building. Site lighting is really kept to the perimeter. It's LED. They're 20-foot poles, and really those are, like I said, around the south and east side of the parcel, predominantly located here, in order to shine light, the appropriate amount of light to the site plan and parking area. Elevations of the project. It is proposed to be a steel framed building as requested by Jimmy John's Corporate. And that will then be clad with brick masonry. So it'll be a very durable and well-built structure. So again, four-sided architecture, all brick building, predominantly glass on the east entry side, the north, which would be facing Culver's and the main intersection, and then to the west there are again some large glass panels before you get then to the bump out of the drive-through. All the windows have canopies on them with, as you can see here, their typical Jimmy John signage. And then their internally illuminated signage on all three sides. And then there is one small area signage on the south side. There was some discussion about what we can do to the south elevation here to make it, as you're coming now north on N, just to give it a little bit more articulation. So we're going to be looking at, possibly replicating maybe an awning or a canopy, just to identify maybe that they're simulate, maybe more windows on that side. They wouldn't necessarily be windows because of the kitchen area, which is located directly behind there, but kind of a simulated look from the north, or from the south, sorry. Other than that, we will be putting forth another sign package if they want to do a monument sign, which is allowed by code. If we decide to do a pylon sign, that will have to come forth through another ARC review meeting and you folks here. So with that, I don't know if there's site lighting. I think I talked a little bit about landscaping. It'll predominantly around the perimeter of the property where we have green space. We have the landscaping as well as some smaller trees, crabapple trees, and small foundation plantings around the building itself. So we're trying to keep the parking lot as wide open as we can from snow removal standpoint. And it's a small lot, so from a obstacle standpoint, we want to minimize that. So a lot of the parking will be striped and not necessarily any tree islands. That way we can push snow around easily and put it predominantly to the south. There will be an area kind of in a revised plan that will have capacity to push snow, to the south of the lot.
And Aaron, is it correct, the reason for the conditional use is mainly because it's less than an acre that we're proposing
conditional use is for the drive-through.
Okay.
There's actually 3 separate votes we'll have to do here. One for the site plan, one for the CSM, and one for the conditional use permit. As Jack mentioned, the ARC looked at this, they did approve the parts that they review, which is the CSM and the site plan. We'd recommend approval of the CSM, just noting that for the Commerce Park's covenants, there's a 1 acre minimum lot size. The ARC was willing to waive that in this case. As Brad mentioned, we're just trying to maintain as much flexibility with the land to the south as we can to make that, feasible development parcel for something on the east side of the block there. So that was really the only condition on the CSM. For the site plan, from the planning perspective, conditions were to eliminate all but one of the parallel parking spaces on the southern side of the parking lot. The ARC wanted to keep one as kind of a temporary waiting area for someone coming out of the drive-through. The width of the easternmost drive aisle is shown as 28 feet. We only need 24 per our ordinance, and all the other aisles on the plan were 24. So we're recommending narrowing that up to 24 as well, and by shifting the curb over, you get a little extra green space on the east side. The landscaping plan shows one linden tree, which is classified as a climax tree under our landscaping ordinance. Those technically don't count as building foundation landscaping, so we're recommending 2 medium deciduous trees that are a little bit smaller next to the building in that location. The landscaping plan showed 4 trees kind of in a row along the north side of the driveway. We're recommending moving those 2 to the eastern edge of the parking lot, and then the other 2 to the south of the drive-through lanes, just to, I think they'd be more effective screening the parking lot and the lanes as opposed to the driveway. The fire department had no issues with the layout. They just asked for a Knox box so they could have emergency access if need be. The covenants, again, require a sprinkler system and standpipe for buildings within the Commerce Park. The ARC said they were willing to waive that, given it's a steel frame building with masonry. There's no commercial kitchen. They're just kind of chopping stuff and putting it together. As long as the fire chief, as long as I was okay with the fire chief. So, we reached out to him. We haven't heard back yet, but we'll hope to get an answer on that before the board meeting. They still need to get their sign permits through a separate review process. We just want them to confirm that any rooftop units are not visible above the cornice line. It shouldn't be an issue. There's about 5 feet of room up there. And then, as Brad mentioned, the ARC was looking for a canopy or something over the electrical door on the south side, just to give that a little more articulation. And then I might get a few comments on the site plan as well.
Any questions? Or go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Most of my comments are related to the need to cut into Landmark Drive for the storm sewer outfall from the site. As was mentioned, the roof drains and much of the parking lot drains to infiltration basin, as he's pointing to in the northwestern corner of the site, and then there's an overflow that would take it east to Landmark Drive. And just before Landmark Drive, there's a pair of inlets at their driveway entrance. Because of the proximity to Culver's driveway, which is just on the other side of the property line, they're looking at how they're going to join the 2 driveway aprons there, and I think and we kind of offered a common cut line that would be at the property line to kind of just join those up, and with the roadway, they're going to have to cross a little bit past center line into the street. And so the street would be down a little bit. We just want to make sure maybe Culver's would be notified of that closing when that has to happen. And as well, I know that the trucks for Northern Insured Medical Services come up that street, so they'd have to be rerouted onto Commerce Parkway for the time being while that pipe's in, and that'd just be one day. But those are comments related to that. So because of the public improvements to the street, we have comments that relate to that, and that's liability insurance for our first comment, cut sheets on the materials used, shop drawings on those used, notifying us before work, using the Cottage Grove standard specs, which we can help the engineer out with that's working on it, we're familiar with. Major land disturbance permit would be required. That's kind of outside of the street work because it's over 20,000 square feet. Most of the submittals are technical is in on that we need. It's really just infiltration for this site. And then your construction site erosion control, as long as that's on here. You'll also have a fee and a maintenance agreement. It's kind of the big thing with that basin. So that would be recorded before the land disturbance permit was given out. And then we have a letter of credit. Well, the letter of credit is normally for stormwater management and erosion control value for the site, but we'd also include just some of the elements for the street disturbance area to that. So that lasts as long as the site's open, and when the site's restored, the letter of credit can be released.
Mike, do you have a value on the letter of credit?
We don't have that yet.
Okay.
So streets, everything we have in streets is as we discussed, just looking at the timing, traffic control plan we mentioned. We just want to have two-way traffic open as soon as possible. We'll have to get a notice on what the construction timing is, provide a detail for the concrete island nose. The other thing they have to do is a cross-through is put in for culverts. It's a concrete base instead of the landscaped island there. So they're going to pull that further south of the hill for this development. And so we'll need details on that. We kind of, I think they were showing asphalt in there. We would be continuing the concrete center area. That's 8-inch thick concrete. Other details on it, just on the asphalt patch for the storm sewer. When the two curb and gutters come from Culver's and Jimmy John's come down the hill to the sidewalk, we need something that kind of finishes that behind the sidewalk. So it's the driveway is going to be very close together, and you may want something in that area just to kind of, so people aren't driving into that point, that separates that. I think just getting the curb and gutters to join there, we'll probably end up painting them yellow behind you. The rest we have sanitary sewer. Those are mostly just plumbing code things that we'll get to the engineer on cleanouts. Most of the cleanouts shown for the fairly long sanitary lateral for the site are just the bend points there, and they're going to be an asphalt, so we're recommending that you have a casting over Nicholas Street that's floating from the actual sanitary cap. So that's pretty much every comment on sanitary is related to that. Water main, just insulate. There are some crossing down below of the water service going into over the storm sewer, so we'll get that from plans from the engineer. Erosion control. There would be erosion mat in the disturbed terrace areas of the street, and that would need to be added. General stormwater. The village uses a heavier lip on their castings out in the street. It's called an R1710. So, and then of course changing the pipe in the street. Since that's a municipal area, we'd want reinforced concrete pipe in the street. That's it for our engineering, but as long as those get included, I don't see anything too major there, but there's just a bunch of details that
Any comments or questions from Plan Commission members?
I would move approval. of
To
the-
close the public hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll close the public hearing at 6:48 PM. Okay, go ahead. Mike.
I would move approval of the site plan application for Jimmy John's Restaurant to include staff and MSA comments.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the site plan application for Jimmy John's, subject to staff and engineering requirements. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. All right. Item 8, discuss and consider approval of the certified survey map application to divide the .785 acres from existing 6.4 acre parcel for Jimmy John's Restaurant proposed to be located at 1579 Landmark Drive. I think we kind of explained how that works, and I think, Aaron, we're trying to maximize the potential of the rest of the parcel by doing this. Is that okay?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item 8, the certified survey map application. Any comments or
I
questions?
assume that includes staff and MSA requirements.
That's fine.
That work? Okay. Okay. So motion and second to include staff and engineering requirements for certified survey map. Any other discussions on item 8? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. And on to item 9, discuss and consider approval of a conditional use permit application to operate an in-vehicle sales and service at Restaurant Drive-Through accessory land use at Jimmy John's Restaurant proposed to be located at 1579 Landmark Drive. Any questions on conditional use permit?
There were
Motion to approve.
no conditions on it.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion and second to approve item 9, the application for the conditional use permit. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Well, welcome. Village Board's the next step, and is that Monday night? Okay.
Lisa, maybe we could just show the public hearing ending a couple minutes before Rick made his motion.
Sure.
Yep, we have
Yeah,
that.
we
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I
Sorry,
think I said
do that.
6:48 or something.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have to open another public hearing at 6:52 to gather input from the public regarding a proposed amendment to the Village of Cottage Grove subdivision ordinance 27-4 and zoning ordinance 325 relating to enlarging the distance for notice requirements and other changes related to application review process. And I think we all know the origins of this. I'll let Aaron and Lee talk to us about what we're proposing here.
So previously, we had talked about this mostly in the context of the zoning and conditional use process. Preliminary plat has the same 200-foot notice. It just makes sense to make it 400 in all instances, so that's really what's driving the inclusion of the subdivision ordinance in this. As long as we're doing this, we're also making changes in each of these sections, allowing, or giving the village the option to accept digital files in lieu of all the paper copies. That's what we're doing now anyway, but we just want to make it official.
Okay.
A few other minor changes, changing clerk to treasurer in a few spots. Until we hired Lisa, that was always the same person, so it didn't really matter, but now we just want to be a little more specific about that. Oh, and as far as the neighborhood meetings, I think it currently says as many as the plan commission or village board asked for, which I guess could imply 0, so we're changing that to 1 or more as required. And we also added the neighborhood meeting requirement to the planned unit development section of the code, which doesn't currently have that, but that's certainly something that would affect neighbors as well. So we recommend those changes.
Any,
Really cut a crowd with all this.
yeah,
Wow.
just basically some housekeeping and makes it all consistent, I think, with the notice.
Well, and it also incorporates the discussion, I think that over the course of time, almost every time there is something up for approval, someone says, well, we didn't get notice, or you should have gone further, or whatever. And so this is an attempt to try to answer that.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions from planning commission members? Okay. Is there a motion to approve this?
You gotta close the public hearing.
Oh, that's right, sorry, another public hearing. We'll close this public hearing at 6:54 p.m. Okay. Item 10, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve the proposed amendment to the Village of Cottage Grove subdivision ordinance, chapter 274, and zoning ordinance, chapter 325, related to enlarging the distance for notice requirements and other changes related to application review process.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? It's item number 11, actually, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I was looking at the wrong one there. They both look alike. All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And then this will be sent to the village board, and we'll put it into the regular format
Okay.
for Monday.
All right, thank you. Item 12, discuss and consider public participation plan for comprehensive plan update. Any questions on what you have on the link in your packet, or for Aaron or Lou? Comprehensive plan update, Polco internet surveys. I think this is pretty much trying to reach out at all levels to get public input on things. I'm not sure what else we can do.
Get notifications,
Yeah.
there's a new question.
Yeah.
It's great, actually.
I move approval of public participation plan for comprehensive plan update.
Okay.
Okay. Motion and second to approve the comprehensive plan update plan. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, item 13, update on Community Development Authority's discussions regarding the creation of a new tax increment financing TIF district. Mick, I know you're on CDA if you want to, or Aaron also talk about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update. The CDA is looking at actually 3 new districts. There would be one down in the area around CVS and the Metcalf property, and also Hamburg's commercial properties on the south side of the street, and a little bit of his residential area. There would be an overlay district around the intersection here, largely overlaying the existing district. It would in effect kind of extend the life, not of that district, but extend the length of time we could give incentives or do projects. And then the third one would be the lands north of I-94. By state law, there's some limitations on whether you can do a district or not based on the value of the land in your districts compared to your overall value in the village. When we talked to Ellers, our financial consultant, about all of this, they pointed out that when Summit is finished and addressed and that increment gets valued into that equation, we would be over the limit and not able to create districts. So that's kind of prompting the decision to get these done now.
Sure.
If we have it done by,
All 3.
yeah.
So what is the next step? These are created by ordinance, or how do we do this?
There's a statutory process to it that Ellers would guide us through. We're figuring out a few funding issues because only one of these was in the 2018 budget. But we had proposed some other work north of I-94 that we may be able to postpone and use that money to fund the creation of these other districts. So the plan is we'll get that nailed down in March. Presumably the CDA would kind of give us the green light to go on these, and then others will do the bulk of the work to guide us through the process. MSA and myself would have a role in that as well. And we'd probably run the boundaries of the districts by you guys.
So at that point is when the boundaries get established. Okay.
In the past, when we did districts, I think it was always the plan commission that guided that process, because we didn't have a CDA at that
Right.
time. But now we're using the CDA for the bulk of it.
We have to have it done by end of July, right?
Yeah, that would for sure get us in before we have to worry about some.
Any comments, questions for Eric? Anything to add, Nick?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, you're down to number 14, comments from commission members. Nick?
No comments.
Okay, Phyllis? Jennifer?
I'm pretty excited to see that crane out there.
Oh,
Not gonna lie.
Summit, yeah.
First
Makes-
time you've seen one of those in
Yeah,
Cottage Grove.
it's
is it?
pretty,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That
Melissa?
is cool.
Besides welcome, anything to say?
Just I appreciate this opportunity.
All right, thanks. Fred?
I will not be at the March 14th meeting.
Okay.
I'm having knee replacement surgery, so.
Good luck there.
I may not be at the April meeting either,
Well, good luck with that.
but I for sure won't be at the March one.
Okay. All right. Okay, future agenda items, anything from Plan Commissioner Aaron? Lee? Okay. If we have anything specific at this point.
More comp plan work, I think, now that we've approved this public participation plan, I'll draft up a few sample questions on kind of
Okay.
general issues that you guys can look at next time, and hopefully we can put those up on
Okay.
the website after that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Brings us down to item 16.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and second to adjourn. Non-debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.